For getting revenge after they locked my daughter in a room at the $2,000 party I funded? My name is Sarah, I am 37 years old, and this started with a call that seemed normal, one of those you answer without imagining what is coming. It was a Thursday night. I was in the living room of my condo in a nice Chicago suburb, with my cell phone in hand trying to clear my mind. My daughter Lily was in her room doing her homework. When the phone rang and I saw the name of my older sister, Jessica, I thought it was the usual. "Sarah, I need to talk to you about Madison's party," she said with that strained voice she gets when she feels the weight of the world on her shoulders. Madison is her daughter, my niece, and she was about to turn 14. There is also Ryan, her 10-year-old son. I have been very close to both of them since they were born. I have been divorced for years. I am raising Lily alone. And if I have learned anything, it is that when you don't have a partner, family becomes your safety net. Or so you think. What's wrong? I asked, my mind already prepared to solve something. Do you remember that boutique bakery near your place? The one that makes custom cakes, the ones that look like they belong in a magazine. Madison wants one from there. And with everything I'm already spending, I don't know if I can swing it. I knew exactly which one she meant, one of those places where you order the cake from a glossy catalog, they decorate it with fondant flowers and gold leaf, and they hand it to you in a box that looks like it's for jewelry. Do you want me to buy it? I told her. On the other end, I heard the relief. Honestly, Madison is going to lose her mind if she gets it. I swear. I work in marketing and I do well. I don't have money to throw away, but I live with stability. And for years I have been used to helping out when it comes to the kids. Okay, send me the details and I'll order it, I told her. Thank you. You're the best sister, Jessica blurted out quickly, as if she were afraid I would change my mind. We stayed on the phone for a long time. She told me about the guest list, which was going to be about 15 friends from middle school, the music, the decorations, and that she wanted everything to look beautiful because, you know how Madison's friends are. I listened to her and thought that yes, I understood. Adolescence is tough, and Jessica insists that her children shouldn't feel inferior. The irony is that I had already put in money before. A month earlier, I had wired her $2,000 to cover the deposit for the food, decorations, and party expenses because she told me they were short on cash. Because her husband, Kevin, hadn't had steady construction work, because the rent on their townhouse was so expensive, because she didn't want to look bad. I has always said yes. When we hung up, I was left with that warm feeling you get when you feel you did something good for your family. I went to Lily's room. She was at her desk with her notebook open, focused. "Sweetie, on Saturday we're going to Madison's birthday party," I told her. Lily looked up as if I had just announced a trip to Disney World. "Really? Can I wear my blue dress?" The new one. The blue dress, the one she had picked out so carefully. Blue with tiny sequins, nothing exaggerated. A pretty, clean, well-cared-for little girl's dress. One of those that makes her feel special. "Of course. You're going to look gorgeous," I answered. That night, as I tucked her in, I thought we were lucky that despite all the problems, we had family close by. My parents lived in a nearby town and were always at birthdays, school concerts, whatever it was. And for years, I was the one with the stable job. That is what they called me, as if it were a title. Without anyone asking me anymore, it became a habit for me to help. Every month, I sent $1,000 to Jessica to help cover the rent, because their townhouse was in a neighborhood with good schools, and they wanted to keep the kids there. I also paid for Madison and Ryan's sports activities, about $200 a month for both of them. I did it because they were my niece and nephew, because they were kids, because I could. Saturday arrived quickly. The party was in the afternoon from 2 to 6. In the morning, I went to pick up the cake. When they handed it to me, even I was impressed. It was huge, perfect, with delicate flowers, gold details, and Madison's name written in beautiful script. It cost me a little over $300, and yet it felt like the bare minimum so my niece could have her day. Lily was in the back of the car, almost vibrating with excitement. "She's going to love it, Mom," she told me. And she held the box as if she were carrying a fragile artifact from a museum. We arrived at Jessica's house in the next town over. There were already cars parked along the street. The party was just starting, but you could feel the energy. Jessica opened the door with a big smile. "Sarah, this is incredible." "No, really, you outdid yourself," she said when she saw the cake. I walked in carefully, put it on the table, and Lily shot off to find her cousins. The house was decorated with balloons and streamers, and you could hear the voices of teenagers upstairs laughing and yelling with that energy that fills a space without asking permission. Jessica had done a good job. I had to admit it. I checked my cell phone and my chest tightened. I had urgent messages from work. I approached Jessica. "Hey, I don't want to ruin your day, but they called me about an urgent matter. I have to go into the office for a little while. I'm just dropping Lily off, and I'll come back for her in the afternoon before the party ends." Jessica's smile faded a little, but then she nodded. "Don't even worry about it, she'll be fine here. She'll hang out, she'll play. My parents are on their way, everything is cool." I looked for Lily. She was in the living room talking to Madison and Ryan. Lily was smiling, proud to be there at a big kids' party. "Sweetie, I have to go to work for a few hours," I told her softly, hugging her. "Are you staying here with your aunt?" "Yes. I'll be back for you before 6. "Yes, Mom," she answered and gave me a quick kiss. I gave Madison her gift, a new smartphone, one of those that cost over $600. Madison let out a shriek of happiness, the kind that makes everyone turn around. "Seriously, thank you," she said, and she hugged me as if I were her salvation. I laughed, hugged her, and left with that feeling that it had all been worth it. I got in my car and saw my parents arriving just as I was leaving. They greeted me cheerfully with those happy grandparent faces. I went to the office and I had a heavy afternoon of reports, spreadsheets, presentations, and endless emails. I focused because it was something that had to be finished that same day. Around 5:30 I left to make it back on time. The drive back was typical suburban gridlock, stretches that move and stretches that come to a halt. Even so, I did better than expected and arrived a little before 6. I was smiling. I imagined Lily telling me everything. The music, the cake, the games, the thrill of being with teenagers, feeling included. I knocked on the door. Jessica opened it quickly, but something immediately struck me. She didn't look happy. She looked tired, and more than tired, she looked annoyed, as if I were interrupting her. "Oh, you're here. You're getting Lily, right?" she said. "Yes. How did it go? Did she have a good time?" I asked, still with a smile on my face. Jessica didn't answer, she just turned toward the stairs and yelled, "Lily, your mom's here." I tried to peek in. I saw my parents in the living room. They saw me and waved with a soft smile, but then quickly turned away, as if they suddenly had something urgent to attend to. That confused me. Lily came down the stairs and my heart sank to the floor. My little girl, the one who always talks your ear off, looked pale with red-rimmed eyes and a swollen little face. She walked slowly, as if she were carrying something very heavy. "Hi, sweetie. Ready to go?" I asked, trying to keep my voice from trembling. Lily just nodded. She didn't even run to hug me. Jessica was already getting her little jacket out of the coat closet by the entrance. "Thanks again for the cake, she loved it. And thanks for the phone," she said with a coldness I had never seen in her. She was showing it off all afternoon. "That's great," I answered, but I wasn't hearing that anymore. I was looking at my daughter, so lifeless. "And you, Lily, did you dance? Did you play with Ryan?" I tried. Lily shrugged. She mumbled something I couldn't understand. Jessica practically forced the jacket on her and steered us toward the door. "We're exhausted now. We have to clean all this up before Kevin gets home. We'll talk later." I stood there for a second trying to process. Jessica was already closing the door. "Yeah, sure. Thanks for watching her," I managed to say. "Uh-huh," Jessica replied and shut the door in my face. I stood outside with the cold air hitting my skin, not understanding what had just happened. Lily was already walking toward the car with her head down. "Sweetie, are you feeling okay? You look sad," I said when she got in. Lily didn't answer. She put on her seatbelt and looked out the window as if I weren't there. I started the car and began to drive. Every so often I looked at her in the rearview mirror. Nothing, not a single word. I asked her gentle questions. About the music, if she ate cake, if she saw my parents, if she played any games with the kids, nothing. The drive back that I had imagined full of excitement was a very heavy silence, just the hum of the engine and the sounds of traffic. Arriving home, Lily got out, went inside and walked straight to the kitchen. She opened the refrigerator and started taking things out as if she had come from a place where food didn't exist. Bread, ham, cheese, mayonnaise. She made herself 2 huge sandwiches. 2. I stood there watching her. Didn't you eat at the party, sweetie? I asked. Lily shook her head without looking at me. She sat down and ate them in silence. I couldn't even swallow. It wasn't normal. At a party there is always food, always. When she finished, she washed her plate, put it in the dishwasher, and went toward her room without saying good night. Lily, wait. Do you want to watch a movie? Will you tell me how it went? I insisted. She stopped on the stairs. She looked at me with her eyes wet again. I'm tired, Mom. Can I go to sleep? I felt a lump in my throat. Yes, of course. But if something happened today, can you tell me? Yes. Lily nodded, went up and closed the door. I stayed downstairs with my heart racing, turning everything over in my head. I told myself that maybe she felt out of place, that they were teenagers, that she is little, that maybe someone said something mean to her. But around 8 I couldn't take it anymore. I went upstairs slowly, stood in front of her door, and heard something that broke me. Lily was crying. It wasn't a loud cry, it was a quiet, muffled cry. Like when someone doesn't want to be heard. I knocked. Sweetie. It's me. I opened the door. Lily was on the bed with her back to me, covering her face with the pillow. Her shoulders moved with her sobs. I sat next to her and rubbed her back. Lily, what happened? Tell me, please. Lily turned around. Her face was red and swollen. She looked at me as if she were carrying a guilt that didn't belong to her. She shook her head and cried harder. My Aunt Jessica said you wouldn't believe me, she blurted out with a broken voice. She said everyone was going to think I'm making it up. I felt a chill in my stomach, an emptiness, like when you realize that it wasn't a simple kid's argument. I hugged her tight. Listen to me carefully. I will always believe you. Always. You are my daughter. I trust you. Tell me what happened, and I won't get mad at you. Lily took a trembling breath. She stayed quiet for a few seconds, as if measuring whether she could trust me. Then she spoke. When you left, everything changed, Mom. My jaw tightened. What changed? My aunt was really mean to me. She saw me and said I was dressed badly, that I couldn't be at the party like that. I felt the heat rise up my neck. What exactly did she say to you? She said my dress, that it looked cheap, and that I was going to make the other kids uncomfortable. She said I was going to ruin the party because Madison's friends were going to see me. I froze. Lily was wearing her blue dress, clean, pretty, the one she loved. It wasn't an expensive designer dress. It was a normal little girl's dress. And still. And then what happened? I asked, swallowing my rage so my daughter wouldn't get scared. She told my grandma and grandpa that they had to put me somewhere else, that I was going to be an embarrassment. I gripped the blanket harder with my fingers without realizing it. Where did they take you? Lily wiped her nose with her sleeve. My grandma took me upstairs and put me in a little storage room. There was a desk and an old computer. She told me to stay there and not to come out. Did they close the door on you? I asked, feeling like I couldn't breathe. Lily nodded. She told me she would bring me food later, but she didn't bring me anything. Nothing. I heard the music downstairs, I heard them laughing and yelling, and I was there all alone. My throat closed up. How long were you in there? A long time. I got really hungry. My tummy was making noises. I started playing games on the computer for a while, but then I couldn't anymore. It hurt. My eyes filled with tears, with anger, and with sadness. Did they at least give you water? I went out once because I really had to go to the bathroom. I drank water from the sink really fast and ran right back because I was scared they would scold me. I stayed silent, trying not to tremble. And nobody came looking for you. Nobody said, "Come eat." Lily shook her head. When you got there, my aunt told me that if I told you anything, you would think I was making it up. She said you would believe them because they're adults. She said everyone would be mad at me for being a liar. I hugged my daughter as if doing so could erase what they did to her. Sweetie, you didn't lie. You didn't do anything wrong, nothing. Lily breathed as if she had just dropped a huge rock. Then she said something even softer. I just wanted you to believe me. I believe you with all my heart, I told her. Lily stared at a spot on the wall. And when I was in there, I found a blue marker on the desk, and I wrote my name on the wall and I put the date. I put Saturday the 12th. My chest tightened. You wrote your name? Yes. I don't know why. I just wanted it to be seen that I was actually there. Just in case they said later that I wasn't. My soul broke, and at the same time I felt a sad pride. My little girl trying to figure out how to defend herself without knowing she was leaving proof. I kissed her forehead. Rest, sweetie. It's over now. I will handle it. Lily grabbed my hand. Are you going to read me that book you mentioned? The one about the man on the island. Robinson Crusoe, I answered, trying to smile without my voice breaking. Yes, I'll read it to you every night if you want. Lily closed her eyes. Little by little, her breathing calmed down. I turned off the light and left the room. And as soon as I closed the door, something ignited inside me that I didn't know existed. I went straight to my bedroom. I grabbed my cell phone and called Jessica. She didn't answer. I called her again. Nothing. On the third try, she finally answered. What's wrong, Sarah? She answered as if she were doing me a favor. Lily told me everything, I said, straight to the point. Everything. There was a short pause. What are you talking about? About how she was put in a storage room. Hours without food, without anything. While you all had a party that I paid for. Jessica let out a dry little laugh. Oh, Sarah, please. Lily can be so dramatic. She exaggerates. My hand was shaking. Jessica, she is 8 years old. She was hungry. She was crying. Nothing serious happened, she said. Lily went upstairs on her own because she didn't want to mingle. She was acting weird. I even offered her food and she didn't want any. I gritted my teeth. Don't lie to me. You told her I wouldn't believe her. Sarah, you really should work on her behavior. Sometimes your daughter just wants attention and you fall for it. That was the limit. Don't ever call me again, I told her. And I hung up. I sat on the bed with my body trembling. It wasn't just rage. It was a feeling of betrayal that left me gasping for air. My sister, my parents, people I had helped for years, and they treated my daughter like she was an inconvenience. Right then and there I made a decision. I opened my banking app, found the scheduled transfers and canceled them all. I canceled the $1,000 that went out every month for Jessica's rent. I canceled the $200 that went to Madison and Ryan's activities. Just like that, without warning, without explanation, because they already had the explanation. A couple of days passed and the bombardment began. First it was calls. Then messages. First Jessica. Sarah, the money for the rent didn't come through this month. We have to pay it. I didn't answer. Then another. Seriously, what is wrong with you? Kevin is already asking me. I didn't answer. Then, the kids' sports club is charging us. Why didn't you pay? I didn't answer. After that, my parents called. I didn't answer either. That afternoon I turned off my cell phone and started playing a board game with Lily in the living room. I wanted my house to feel safe, calm, the way it should be. The next day they knocked on the door. I peeked through the peephole and saw Jessica and Kevin outside looking ready for a fight. They were waving their hands, talking to each other as if getting worked up. I didn't open it. They knocked for a long time, like 15 minutes. Then they left. The next day they tried again, and again I didn't open the door, until my grandma Helen called. My grandma is my mother's mother, the person who for years managed to keep the family from breaking apart in shouting matches, the one who speaks calmly and yet commands respect. When I saw her name I answered. Sarah, my dear, she said. Your mom called me very worried. She says you won't answer, that you've cut everyone off, that you're no longer helping your sister. Yes, Grandma, I answered. It's true. What happened, honey? Tell me. And I told her. Everything about the storage room, the hunger, the things said to Lily, the lie over the phone. My grandma stayed silent for a while. A heavy silence. That is very serious, she finally said. Very serious. It cannot stay like this. I need us all to meet and talk properly. I didn't want to. The idea of sitting down to listen to excuses made me sick, but I respect my grandma. Okay, I told her. But I'm not going so they can scold me. I am going with proof. Okay, she answered without hesitation. This Saturday at Jessica's house. I will make sure everyone is there. That weekend I left Lily at a little friend's house for a sleepover. I didn't want my daughter to see that tension. I didn't want them looking at her again as if she were guilty. I arrived at Jessica's house and from the outside I saw several cars. It wasn't a talk. It was an intervention. I walked in. Jessica, Kevin, my parents, my grandma Helen, and also two uncles who always have an opinion on everything, even though they never take responsibility for anything, were there. I sat down in a chair, and before I could open my mouth, the attack began. "This has gotten out of control," my dad said. "You can't just cut off your sister over a misunderstanding. Don't make this a bigger deal. Your sister needs support," my mom added. "And you have always been about family. I don't know what's happened to you." One of my uncles chimed in. "We raised you better than this, Sarah. Family is everything." I let them talk for a few minutes. I let them give their speech, as if I were the villain for setting boundaries. When they finally fell silent, I took a deep breath. "It wasn't a misunderstanding," I said. "You put my daughter in a storage room for hours without food, while you guys were downstairs at the party." Jessica sat up straight as if she had rehearsed it. "I already told you. Lily went upstairs on her own. She was acting weird. She wanted to be alone. Nobody made her go anywhere." I looked at her without blinking. "Lily wrote her name and the date on the wall of that room," I said. "Do you want to go see it?" There was a silence. Nobody moved at first, but my grandma Helen stood up slowly. "Let's go," she said. And her voice wasn't a suggestion, it was an order. We all went upstairs. Jessica led the way, tense, opened the door to the storage room and turned on the light. There it was on the wall, written in blue marker with a little girl's handwriting. "Lily, and Saturday the 12th. My mom brought her hand to her mouth. My dad frowned. My grandma Helen turned to look at Jessica with a look I had never seen from her. "Explain this to me," she told her without raising her voice. Jessica stared at the wall. Her face changed. First, she tried to come up with another story. You could see it in her eyes like she was looking for a way out, but something in my grandma's gaze broke her, and then she exploded. "Yes," she yelled. "Yes, we put her in there. There. Done. Are you happy?" Everyone froze. Jessica continued as if she had been holding it in for years. "I am sick of it, Sarah. Sick of you making more money. Sick of having to constantly ask you for help. Sick of your daughter showing up in nice clothes and with new toys while mine have to make do. That blue dress, it was like she came to show off." Kevin looked at her as if he didn't recognize her. "Jessica, what are you saying?" he murmured. But Jessica didn't stop. Madison's friends started asking questions, saying how cute Lily's dress was, asking where did you buy it, and how pretty it was. And it made me angry. It made me angry because then they realize that we don't have the same things here. Because then they see me as the mom who can't provide. And I wasn't going to let Madison feel inferior at her own party. The room fell silent, a silence that hurt. My mom, instead of keeping quiet, tried to intervene. "Jessica is under a lot of pressure, Sarah," she said with a soft voice. "You know how her situation is. It wasn't that serious." I looked at her as if I didn't know her. "It wasn't that serious?" I repeated. "Putting a hungry child in a room isn't that serious." My dad cleared his throat, uncomfortable. He looked down and didn't say anything. I felt that if I stayed one more minute I was going to break down or I was going to scream. And I didn't want to scream. I wanted to be clear. "There is nothing left to talk about," I said. "I helped for years because I believed we were family, but family doesn't do this. Family doesn't punish a little girl out of envy." My mom opened her mouth, but my grandma Helen spoke first. "Sarah is right," my grandma said firmly. "I am ashamed of all of you. You do not do that to a child. To any child." Jessica looked down, but not out of regret, out of wounded pride. I took a step toward the door. "Don't call me," I said, looking at everyone. "Don't come to my house, and don't expect another cent from me." I walked out of that house and drove home with my hands shaking. Yes, with rage. Yes, but also with a strange sense of relief, as if I were taking off a backpack I had been carrying without realizing it. In the following days, I sought legal advice to know how to act if they ever tried to approach Lily alone again. I didn't want drama. I wanted to protect her. Months have passed since that day. I have never spoken to Jessica or my parents again. My grandma Helen calls me every 2 or 3 weeks. She asks about Lily. Sometimes she tells me, not as gossip but just as a fact, that Jessica had to move to a smaller apartment because they couldn't afford the rent anymore, that Kevin took a second job to make ends meet, that Madison and Ryan quit their sports activities. That hurt me for the kids because it wasn't their fault. But I cannot support a family that thinks it is okay to humiliate my daughter. Lily and I are fine. We are at peace. My house became a safe place again. We still see my grandma Helen and a couple of uncles who, to my surprise, did understand and didn't try to twist the story on me. Every night, Lily asks me to read her a chapter of Robinson Crusoe. She snuggles up next to me and listens as if that story were a hug. And sometimes when I turn off the light, I tell her softly, "You're my little Robinson." Lily smiles as if she finally knows she is not alone. Comment. Sometimes the hardest decisions we make are the ones that finally bring us peace. Setting firm boundaries with the people we care about can feel incredibly painful at first. We often confuse loyalty with an obligation to endure mistreatment. True family is built on a foundation of mutual respect and unconditional kindness. Our primary responsibility is always to protect the safety and emotional well-being of the innocent children who depend on us. We must remember that our generosity should never become a free pass for others to overstep our limits. Walking away from an unhealthy environment is often the first and most necessary step toward genuine healing. You are entirely allowed to choose a quiet life over a cycle of drama and emotional manipulation. I hope this discussion encourages you to evaluate the relationships in your life and fiercely protect your inner peace. Please take care of yourselves and always remember your worth. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.